Hello, everyone. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes to take your seats. And while we're doing that, I'm just going to mention a couple of housekeeping things. We have emergency exits on either side of me and halfway down the room and at the very, very back of the auditorium. So make sure to know where those are. The washrooms are to the right down the red hall. We do have a poster at the very back of the hall. We do have a poster at the very, very back to sign if anybody wants to leave a little last memento for Laura. And we do have booths with some cards that you can leave a little note, and we'll be compiling all of those at the end of the service. Thank you on behalf of Laura's friends and family for coming out. My name is Peyton Cameron. I had the great honor of knowing Laura for half of my life, and through every phase of our lives, we had each other, and she was one of the most important people in the world to me and clearly to everybody here. The depth of her impact cannot be overstated. We're all going to really miss her, and this sucks. So I'm going to keep it short and brief, but I do appreciate everybody coming out. And I will, before I get Pastor Dan up here, just leave you with be kind to each other and reach out to each other and support each other through this time. And not only now, but forever moving forward, all we have is each other. So make sure to check in on one another and be kind. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Pastor Dan Cochran to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Peyton, and as Peyton said, welcome everybody. It's so good to have you here. This is a day when we'd rather be anywhere else, I think, but we're here because we're for the family. And you know, we're all over our heads today. And we come to a place like this, and it's hard to know what to say or how to say it. But the fact that you showed up means so much. It means you're for this family, and they matter to us. And so today we're going to remember Laura, celebrate her life, reflect on her legacy, and also find help for ourselves. Because you know what, when I walk into a place like this, there's one thing that always hits me. And that is I get crystal clear the most important thing in life. Outside these four walls, it could be money, could be achievement, it could be travel, sex, you name it. But here today, we're crystal clear on the most important thing in life, that's relationships. We'd give everything we had if we could bring Laura back. And so that's why there's a huge hole in our heart. That's why we grieve. So we have broken hearts, and that's why we've come together, as Peyton said, to affirm each other and help carry each other and just say that we're for each other. And you know, I always leave a place like this and I make sure I say to the people I care about, I love you. Because relationship is the most important thing in life, and you don't know how long you have. So in that way, it's a good day to be here today. I just want to start with just a prayer, and then I'll turn it back to Peyton. Lord, today we're coming together as a bunch of people with broken hearts. And we lift up our hearts to you and pray for your help today. Father, we thank you for Laura. Thank you for every relationship that's represented here to Laura and to the family. Thank you for the legacy that she left. Lord, like you, she cared for the last and the lost and the least and the little and the nearly dead, and we honor her for that. And we pray today you'd help us find comfort. Help everybody that's got a part to play here. Help us do it well, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Laura's dad, Robert Saik.
Well, there are people here from all over. Some drove from Lanigan, Saskatchewan, and Lethbridge. People drove in the snow to be here with us today. We've got family, we've got friends, we've got farmers. We've got hockey buddies, we've got art buddies, we've got church people, we've got Aggies, we've got Laura's friends and buddies, we've got family. When I think of Laura, I think of fireworks. When she walked into a room, the room got brighter. And like fireworks, she dazzled. She was magic. She had 1,000 touch points. And those touch points are reflected in the people that she knew and she loved and who loved her back. For as long as I can remember, Laura's perspective has always been different. She had her own vantage point. She saw beauty where others saw mundane. And she could always, always, always make you laugh. I believe Laura got her. She was so quick. We were in Mexico one time, Nick and I and Laura, at an all-inclusive, and she was getting ready to jump in a pool, and she had a little roll over her bikini, and I poked the roll and said, "What's that?" And she said, "Genetics," and then jumped in the pool. I'm hard of hearing. I'm not sure if it was from building grain bins or if it was from a Judas Priest concert. Could have been both. But Laura used to take great delight like I couldn't hear. She loved doing that to me. Right up to our last Thanksgiving, just 4 weeks ago, Laura was always in the center of the mix, loving her nieces, nephews, terrific seamstress. She could tell stories where you laughed until you cried. She had a beautiful voice. I loved to hear her sing. Laura didn't measure success monetarily. She measured her success through friendships. And judging from the turnout in Calgary at her open house and at the VAT on Wednesday and today, Laura was, by the measure of love, one of the most successful people I know. Today, Laura lives on through art. You can find her in Calgary, Red Deer, Arizona, Mexico, in restaurants, on the sides of buildings, and in paintings, on clothing, and on hundreds of tattoos for those lucky enough to receive one of her originals. During COVID, I spent most of my working time out of my Maricopa home. I was fortunate enough to have Laura stay with me sometime down there in Arizona, and my bond with her grew deeper. It was about that time that we started to talk about some of the struggles that she was facing. Laura was a tattooist. She was an artist, an entertainer, and worked in the hospitality industry. all of which were deemed non-essential during COVID. And I remember one conversation I had with her when she was feeling down. She said, "Everything I do has been deemed non-essential. Am I non-essential?" And I grieve for our young people who suffered so much over the last 2 years, and it pains me that this lingered with Laura. Laura and I were very close. We enjoyed our motorcycle trips and our desert adventures, especially with the Maricopa farm crew. Laura loved bringing her friends to the Prairie Oyster for a sail or giving her on Sylvan Lake with a sea-doo. She was fearless. She was always drawing, always doing art, always loving people. Whether you call it a soul, a spirit, an essence, or energy, Laura was gifted with abundant life force. And while she was only here for a short time, she lived life to the fullest. She drove across Canada 2 or 3 times, experiencing our country. She lived in Red Deer, Montreal, Victoria, Arizona, and loved her beautiful little house in Calgary. She had trips to Europe. She visited some of the finest art galleries in the world. She drove west up and down the California coast to Arizona many times. She traveled much of the United States. She went to the Arctic Circle, to the North Pole, and then south to Mexico. She lived fully embracing every day. On behalf of our family, we are grateful for the hundreds of messages and the outpouring of sympathy and affection that we have received. I want to thank you all for coming. And especially I want to say thanks to Tanya Taylor, who was there with me when I got the most terrible call a parent can ever get. Thank you for the past 3 weeks. You've been a rock. As a parent and as a dad, it's really difficult to face a situation where you're powerless to do anything. In an effort to ensure that Laura's spirit lives on in young artists being taught here at Red Deer Polytechnique, we are very pleased to have set up the Laura Saik Memorial Scholarship for the Visual Arts. In lieu of flowers or gifts, or in today's case, in lieu of gas for those who couldn't make it, consider supporting her scholarship so that Laura may live on. Laura, I know you. I know you are paving the way for our next great adventure. I love you. Till I see you again.
Thank you, Rob. Up next, I'd like to call up Linda Cullen-Saik.
Can everybody hear me okay? Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today, and if you are watching via live stream, thank you for joining us to celebrate the life of Laura Ashton Saik. I'm Linda, Laura's mom. The past 2 weeks, I've been privileged to spend time with many of you, Laura's friends, both in Calgary and in Red Deer, and it has been a blessing to me to see her reflected in the hearts and faces of those who she loved and cared for deeply and was loved and cared for by in return. First, I'd like to talk about the Facebook post that I wrote just after her passing and then her obituary. And I'd love to share a story or two of life with Laura. Laura's love language was words of affirmation. I'm going to also share a postcard with you that she wrote to me while she was away on a trip. I've kept it because my primary love language is also words of affirmation. If you know Laura, you undoubtedly received some words of affirmation from her. Keep those close to your heart. Pardon me, that's sniffing. Okay, in terms of the Facebook post, which I wrote from my heart to her, heart of my heart, I will miss you forever. It is with profound sadness that I share the loss of our youngest daughter, Laura Ashton, Lola, Saik. She was truly a radiant beam of love and light wherever she went. Smart, beautiful, unbelievably talented, and so very kind to every being that she met. If you had the privilege of experiencing Laura, you were blessed beyond measure. When she was little, at bedtime it used to say, "Laura, I love you up to the sky and down to the basement and all around the world," which was really expansive at the time. Mama Love, she called me. Mama Love, I said I'll be. She also called me Mama Bear. That's a story for a little later. In terms, I'm pulling myself together. In terms of the obituary, I said she was smart, beautiful, immensely talented, and so very kind to every being she encountered. Laura passed away on Sunday, October 16th in Calgary at the age of 32 years. I was 32 when she was born. I often referred to her as my last good egg, and not without good reason. Laura could read a room from the time she was a little girl. It was her superpower and her kryptonite. In an instant, she could identify disequilibrium, that moment, always in the present tense, of disequilibrium between the inside and the outside of an individual existence. Once she had identified it, she made it her mission to restore equilibrium in that person with dedicated effort. She was tenacious. Her goal, always to build the person up to a state of sublime peace and acceptance. Goodness sakes, just a moment. This earned her the title of Joy Bug when she was a little girl. The name may have changed over the years, but not her mission. When she was really small, she used to call her leotards her really-tards. And if there was any discord or disharmony, she would always say, "Okay, Mom, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to put on my really-tards, and then I'm going to stand at the top of the stairs, and you say, 'Announcing Laura Saik,' and I will come down and dance for you." Inevitably, whatever tension had existed prior to that dissipated instantly. I remember one time when she was 3, she was in a little dance troupe here at the college, and we had the end of the year recital. And they always put the little kids on first because they're so cute. So out came Laura's little group of 4. The music started. Laura promptly went to the front of the group and did this amazing solo, while the 3 little girls in the back did their thing. And at the end, I said to the teacher, "I didn't realize Laura was doing a solo today." She said she wasn't. Never shy, nor a wallflower, Lola commanded every room she entered. She was art, and she lived her life as an art form. Her dad talked about her, how she cooked, how she served people in the industry, her clothing, how she expressed herself, her jewelry, her glasses, her mannerisms. She was a radiant beam of love and light, and she truly was magic. Lola had a laugh that was infectious and a hug that would remind you you had just been deeply seen, heard, and touched by an extraordinary young woman. One of her friends wrote on a little card at her memorial in Calgary that she loved with her beautiful wild soul wide open, and I thought that was fantastic. I want to tell you a story of one day I was down in Calgary to meet her for coffee, and she lived in Kensington at the time above a little record shop. And I had parked my car, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and she was walking to meet me. And at the place we intersected on the sidewalk, there were a couple of homeless gentlemen sitting on the sidewalk with their backs against a building and their feet stretched out on the front of the sidewalk, and one of them was very badly beaten. And in a mama bear moment, I just put my arm through hers and pulled her a little closer to me. And when we got abreast of these two guys, she stops and she looks at the one and she goes, "Kent, what happened to your face?" And he said, "Oh, Laura, it is what it is." And she says, "Can I get you a coffee today, or would you like a cigarette, or do you need something to eat?" And he says, No. He said, "You bought me a coffee yesterday." He said, "That's too much." And then he says, "And who is this lovely creature with you?" And he proceeds to stand up, and he's dusting himself off, and I'm not kidding you, he was like he should have been in the hospital. Anyway, he took my hand, and he kissed it, and he said, "You have a lovely, lovely daughter." And I said, "Thank you." And at that moment, I thought, you know what? I want to be more like her. So, fast forward a bit, and I'm channeling Laura. I'm going to Superstore to get some groceries. Some of you have heard this already. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Lord, make me more like Laura. And as I got towards the door at Superstore, there was a gentleman with long, greasy hair and tattered jeans leaning up against one of the pillars. And I caught his eye when I went by, and he nodded at me, and I nodded at him, and I thought, yes, this is my opportunity. So I went in the store, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get him a sandwich and a bottle of water and maybe a pop and some milk, and I wonder if he likes whole wheat bread or white bread. I wonder if he's a vegetarian. Totally overthinking it. Anyway, I got a little bag of stuff for him, and I thought to myself on my way out, oh, he's probably not there anymore. But he was. And so as I walked by him, I got nervous, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go to my car first, and I'm going to get in my car, and I'm going to drive over. So as I walked past him again, he nodded at me again, and I nodded at him, and I thought, okay, this is a direct message that this man needs my help. So I got in my car, and I drove over so that the passenger side was closest to him, and I thought, geez, maybe he'd rather go to McDonald's. So I took a $10 bill out of my wallet, and I rolled the window down on the passenger side, and as I was stretching my hand with the $10 bill in it towards him, I thought, you know what, the optics of this is not good. And I said to him, can I buy you lunch at McDonald's? And he kind of looked at me, and I said, or if you don't want to go to McDonald's, look, I have a whole bag of groceries for you. And he kind of looked confused, and then he said to me, oh, I'm not homeless. I know I have too much product in my hair and the jeans are torn, but I paid a lot of money for these. He said, I'm just waiting here for my wife to come out with the groceries. So I was humbled, and I said, I'm so sorry. And he said, oh, don't be sorry. Thank you so much for thinking about me. And I thought as I drove away, I hope he doesn't take my license plate number and report me. An artist of many genres, a fashion maven, and a spellbinding storyteller, Lola was a force of nature. She found beauty in the most obscure places, and she had the power to convince you of the same. She'd, as her brother had said before, she'd tell you she had a great movie to watch, and it was beautiful, and everybody would be terrified. She traveled near and far very spontaneously, and she sought and found adventure everywhere she went. She could not be contained, and she was unafraid to encounter life at any level. She phoned me once when she was on her travels, and she said, Mom, guess where I am? And I said, I don't know. She said, I'm in Carnegie Hall. And I said, I thought you were in Vancouver. You're in New York? And she said, well, just a minute, let me check. So she comes back and she goes, no, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm in Carnegie Community Center in Vancouver. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, it's not the concert venue in New York City. They call it the living room of the downtown east side in Vancouver. And I said, oh, what you doing? And she said, oh, I'm just chatting with the people here. And she said, can you believe it? Not only can you visit with some really interesting people, but you can get breakfast for $2.25, lunch for $2.75, and dinner for $3.50. It's amazing. I gotta go, Mom. Then one day she said she has lots of friends who are musicians, and she said, I'm gonna just pop over to Europe. I have some friends there playing music, and I'm gonna follow them around. And I said, Laura, you know those little chips that you put in your cat or dog? And she goes, Mom, that's sick. She said, you're not putting a chip in me. And I said, well, how about we do Find My Friends then? So at night when I go to bed, I can get into bed and I can say, where in the world is Laura Saik? Look on Find My Friends, say a little prayer for you before I go to bed. So she did acquiesce there, and since then I've had her on Find My Friends, then she forgot. We were all so very privileged to be part of her life and to have her part of ours for the very brief moment that we had with her. Now I'm going to read you the postcard, which I've saved for a long time. Okay, my mother, my mentor, my friend, my soul sister, my love. You are one of the most brilliant and beautiful women to ever grace this earth. I am forever and always thankful to have you in my life. There have been so many moments on this trip that I wish you have been next to me. I don't think anyone sees the world quite the way we do, you know? I love you so much, Mama Bear. Thank you for enlightening me to the things that truly matter: art, love, and compassion. See you soon. All the best. XOXO, Laura. I just want to say that Lola will live on in each of you. She isn't gone. She's free and she's unfettered. The challenge that I spoke about earlier that I said I was going to give to you, when things get tough, and they will, pull on your retards, snap them at the waist so you know they're on there, and ask yourself, what would Lola do? Then do it. Use your superpowers for good. Don't be afraid. You're not alone. Look out for one another, check in on one another, and let the people in your life know that they matter to you, that you are better off from knowing them, and that you are there for them, and that you love them. It makes a difference. Look at all of us today. Each of us was made better by knowing Laura. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Linda. Up next, I'd like to call up Charlene and Allison.
I don't know how you do this every week, Dan. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming so that we can remember and honor Laura. My name is Charlene. I'm Laura's oldest sister, the oldest of 4 of us siblings. Today we have heard and will hear lots of great stories and memories of Laura, her sparkle, her love for people, and that's too how I would describe my sister. She was one of a kind.
Whoa. Too much sight. Stay back up a little there. We're good.
In a really heavy time, it's brought some comfort to hear that although her life was shorter than we would have hoped or expected, she lived a full and extraordinary life. It's been admirable to see the many lives she has touched, as well as meet those who I know impacted her life as well. She loved many and was well loved. As a family, we are a bit of an eclectic bunch, and on a spectrum, Laura was probably as wild as I am reserved. But despite some of our differences, we had a mutual love for one another. We were sisters, but we were also friends. Laura was also a sister-in-law to my husband and an aunt to our 3 kids. And as an aunt, she was the one that bought those floor keyboards for kids to stomp on and make music. She also introduced my kids to Tiny Chef, and if you don't know who that is, Google it. If you knew Laura, it'll make you laugh, and it will very likely make some of you scratch your heads. She took the time to talk to my kids, to appreciate their personalities and their individuality, and to even give them Sharpie tattoos. When we spent time together, her joy and energy was inspiring and made everything more fun and crazy. There have been so many memories over the past 32 years, like dancing and road trips and rides in the car listening to rap music, to family gatherings and holidays together. But the ones I'm holding dearest now are the ones from the last few months. We had opportunities to get together each month for sister and cousin Sundays, swimming and enjoying nature and time together. We spent beautiful days together at Sylvan Lake, and a week before her passing, all of our family gathered on Thanksgiving and enjoyed a wonderful day together, the first time in a couple of years that we were able to do so. Looking back, these will be the experiences and memories that I will forever be grateful for, not knowing then that they would be some of our last. I've had the opportunity to go through some of Laura's writings, and she was very poetic among her many other talents. As I reflected on her writings, I came to a greater realization that each person has their own experiences and their own raw perception of themselves, and yet sometimes what we show to the world is only a fragment of that self. Sometimes just the joys, sometimes the joy and the sorrow, but maybe not fully, and sometimes in full authenticity. I believe that's why many of us have our own unique but meaningful stories and relationships with Laura. So as I continue to reflect on Laura's life and the love she showed to others, and for all of those I have come to know who held great love and regard for her, I wanted to offer this remembrance. And it's very similar to what her mom and dad shared as well, our mom and dad, I guess. Live and love as authentically as you can. When you ask somebody how their day is going, be prepared for whatever their answer might be, in joy or in struggle. If somebody asks you how you are doing, be authentic, in joy or in struggle. Stay connected in truth to those who love you, because sometimes that's what we need to get through a day. My sister had many joys, but she also had her struggles, as we all do, and she battled those struggles just as intensely and fiercely as she loved, as she sought to try and make sense of this life and this world as best she could. So like Laura's good friend Peyton said on Wednesday at her celebration of life, don't wait. Love the people around you now. Know them, accept them, appreciate them, and check in on them. Because that's who Laura was and what she did so well. And we just never know how many days we'll get in this life. Laura, you are so loved, and you will be so very missed.
Hi. I'm sorry, when I get upset, I have a hard time breathing, so. I'm Allie. I'm Laura's second oldest sister. Okay, I'm just gonna read because it's probably better that I do that. Oh, Lola.
I gotcha. Take a breath.
Never in my life did I picture myself standing here about to pay tribute to my little sister, Lola. Never. Fucking sucks. Really fucking sucks. I'm sorry, Sienna. Yeah. And all the other kids. But you know what? Here I am, and here we are. Whenever
I experience something really sad or awful or traumatic, I 100% have a complete emotional breakdown first, followed by some questionable shouting and yelling, and finally, within about 24 to 36 hours, some semi-rational self-talk that usually goes something like this. Okay. Oh, fucking K. What's the lesson here, Allie? Find the reason. Why? Come on, you can figure this one out. And as much as I wanted to list the following takeaways from Laura's physical passing as the lessons of Laura or Lola's life lessons, I know Laura would very much appreciate her own set of commandments. Commandments to live by, commandments she wants to playfully share, one she really wants you to hear, and one she's just a little afraid to say. And instead of your usual 10, Laura and I have come up with 7 for no particular reason other than I personally feel like Lola and the number 7 just vibe. And I'm the one speaking right now, so here we go. Lola's 7 commandments. Be kind. Judge not. Create. Drink tequila. Listen. Take care of yourself. Do not drown your feelings in alcohol. Do not numb your feelings with drugs. Feel your feelings. Feel all those dumbass motherfucking feelings and learn and grow and become stronger from them. Which is really, really hard, but you just kind of have to go there. Number 7, if you are a parent, a partner, a sibling, a friend, it is your privilege and your duty to provide security for those that you love. Be sure that they feel loved. Be sure that they feel seen and heard. Be sure that they trust you and know that they can come to you in times of confusion and fear and sadness and shame. Be sure that they know they are a priority to you and that you will help them and or provide them with the help that they need, no matter what. I know Laura isn't physically here, as we've all known her to be, but she's still here. We may not be able to see her, but we can sure damn feel her. So there's no goodbye, there's no see you later in the next life. It's only feel you forever, little sister, I love you so much. And look at this gathering of people, the last 3 fucking memorials you had. It's amazing. You are loved so much, and I miss you so much. And it's one thing as a sibling to lose a sibling. I just wanted to say to my mom and dad, I'm so sorry. My heart is so shattered for both of you. Fuck.
Sorry, I sweared so much. Beep. I needed a script so I could beep it.
May I just say before we carry on, as much as Laura informed all of our lives and provided us with greatness, her life was directly informed by her beautiful family. And I cannot imagine the multitude of what you guys are feeling, but I do need you to know that you raised a hell of a kid. You have one of the most beautiful families, and I just love you guys very much. And we're all here for you moving forward. Nick is one of my oldest friends. I've known Nick for just about as long as I knew Laura. We lived together. We fought like brothers. I'm pretty sure I broke a couple of his toy airplanes in our living room at one point. But through this, I mean, as shitty as it is to lose somebody that you love and have to carry that grief, having Nick and Tony has certainly helped my process, and I only hope that our circle of friends and our community has helped them in their process. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Nick Saik.
So Peyton's grieving with the rest of us. It's actually Dan up next, because Dan's going to offer some words of comfort to us before I entirely break everybody in this audience. So Dan, come on up. Yeah, use whatever you want. You're a better walk on top.
Can I use this one here? I want to use this mic. Podiums scare me. It's a real honor to be able to be here and with you guys today. I was thinking today how we go back a long way. And we were new to Red Deer 26, 27 years ago. And we were kind of broken family, leaving a place that we loved and people we loved, and just lost my mom. My dad was living with us. And it was Christmas. And Linda, you and Rob invited our whole family in for Christmas. And nobody in our family will ever forget that. It was just an amazing time. And, it started a relationship. I'll call it a lifelong relationship. And Rob, you and me even tried running once, maybe twice. But it's just whenever we connect, it's like we haven't disconnected. And Linda, I can't even talk about the times that we've shared. And Alice and I was singing when you were talking, how many times we've just drunk coffee in City Roast and talked about the stuff going on in life. And I'll never forget those times. And Charlene and Tyler, you guys to me, you're one of my heroes. I love watching you raise your kids. And told you before how much your kids are a reflection, I think, of you guys. And Tony, Nick, I did your wedding, and you're still married. That's amazing. It's mine average about 10 years, so this is good. But it was a great wedding, and it's such an honor to be here. And I just wanted to say a few words to all of us today, because when I listen to you guys, our hearts all break, and we do our best to keep it together, but it's hard. And my question on a day like this is, where do you find hope? Where do you find help? Adrenaline keeps you going through a gathering in Calgary, at the VAT, and then here today. But truth is, Monday's coming, and we get back to our life and our agenda. But you guys have to do life without Laura. And no matter what you say or how you cut it, there's always an empty chair at the table. Christmas will have an empty chair. And your hearts will always have a hole in them. And that's the reality. And so the question is there any hope? Where do you find hope? I want to just say something, just take 5 minutes and just share with you through the lens of my own life, where I found some hope walking where you've walked. I haven't lost a sister, but I've lost some people really close, a nephew in a car crash, and we've all lost people. And here's where I found help, 3 areas. Number one, this involves all of you. There's a lot of help in this room here. You're here today because you care for this family. They matter. But you know what? When we get back to our agendas on Monday and going forward, it's so easy to sort of forget. And if I could encourage you never to forget this day and this family. Christmas is coming real quick. Then there's birthdays and there's special days. And, in those days, if you could send a text, a card, flowers, whatever you do, and just stay engaged. Stay engaged. We need to help carry each other. I read the Bible a lot, and there's a great line in the Bible that says, carry each other's burdens. We can't afford to check out. This is the beginning of a journey that, like it or not, we're all involved in. And let's stay connected to this. There's a lot of help in this room. When you when someone calls and says, I got a story about Laura, you got to know that it does something deep in their hearts. Don't be afraid to talk about Laura. I've been in situations where people, they don't even want to bring up the name of somebody I've lost, and I'm saying, please bring that name up. They live in my heart. Like, bring up Laura's name and remember her. That's number one. Number two, sometimes we need more, I don't know what the word is, formal help. The grieving process is brutal and it's long, and it goes in waves, and sometimes you think you're over it, and other times you think, no, I'm not, and you'll crash and burn all of a sudden. Don't ever be afraid to put up your hand and say, I need help. Just put up your hand and say, I need help. You know what? There's lots of places in this community where you can get good help. I'm at Crossroads Church. We could help you find a place. There's lots of other places, but don't ever be afraid to say, I need help. Because none of us are big enough to do some of the stuff of life that we're called to walk through. So never be afraid to say, I need help. The third place I found help and hope is in God. And I want to describe for you for a moment who I found God to be. I used to do a lot of AA counseling and things like that, and there's a lot of talk about God as you understand him. Let me tell you about the God that I've come to know. He's a God that's close to the brokenhearted. He's a God that's for people, not against people. He's not a God that's only for church people. He's a God that's for brokenhearted people. Anybody with a broken heart could, in any way they can from their heart, they could say help and know that God is close. He's close to the brokenhearted. I discovered he has a name and a face, and that's Jesus Christ. How I've come to know God is through Jesus. Jesus was the physical representation of God. If I want to know what God is like, I listen to him. If I want to know what God is like, I read about him. But it's a God you can depend on, and it's a God that desires relationship with people. My favorite verse in the Bible goes like this: for God so loved the world, that's just you put your name in there, that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him would never perish but have eternal life. This is a God you can trust. This is a God that desires personal dealings, relationship with us. And you engage with him just by saying, I want you, I need you. It's that kind of prayer. And I've discovered that he's a God that doesn't protect you from the tough stuff of life. We lose daughters, we get cancer, we lose our jobs, we lose money. But this is the guarantee he gives, that whatever you walk through, you'll never do it on your own again. I need that kind of God. I'm not big enough to build my life on. You can call him a crutch if you want, but he's a good one. And I found that he puts up with me. You can drop a few F-bombs up here, Allison, but I can drop them in my head all the time. And there's no difference. And he loves us. And he's for you. I just want you to know, you guys, he is for you as a family. He's not against you. And one of the things I love about Laura is that if you want to know what the heart of Jesus is to people, follow Laura around for a bit. I was reading the cards that were written by people that were at her place. And one of them was a guy that he was thanking her because she brought him in and cleaned his fingernails. Isn't that amazing? She brought him in and cleaned his fingernails. That's the heart of God. A God that cares for the last, the lost, the least, the little, and the nearly dead. So I wanted to share that with you today because you know what? I don't know any other hope in this world. This is a busted world, and it's not getting better. We need each other. Sometimes we need to say, I need help, but we need a relationship with God, and it's available through Jesus Christ. And he said, Jesus said, whoever lives and believes in me will never die. I need that kind of a God in a world that's going crazy. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Thank you. Thank you for the privilege of being here, Rob, Linda, and Allison, Corey, Ty, and Jar, and Tony, and Nick. This is just a great honor today. We're your friends, and we're for you, and we pray for you. Thank you, Peyton.
Thank you, Pastor Dan. I've only got 4 lines on this, and I lost my place. At this point, I would like to introduce Laura's brother, Nick. He's put countless hours into a slideshow, which we'll have people coming down with Kleenex boxes down the aisle here for you. Nick.
Hey, everybody. There's a bottle of water under here with my name on it, so I'm going to give her a little sip. All right. I have nothing prepared. I'm not a good preparer. I speak better from the heart. Laura was my little sister and my best friend in the entire world. And I know a lot of people hold that title, and I know everybody cares about her deeply. The difference, I think, is that Allison and Shar, my sisters, and just so everybody understands the family dynamic, they're 7 and 8 years older than me. Their father, Tom, who's not here today, wonderful man. My father, Rob, is here, wonderful man, father to me and Laura. And that's our family dynamic. The funny thing about it, though, is that there's a lot of people in this room who knew us growing up, and I think most of you can recognize the fact that at most points, I felt like her younger brother as opposed to her older brother. I'm seeing a lot of faces in the crowd today of people I haven't seen since high school or in years, and all those people have that experience. I was pretty uptight as a teenager. Laura was pretty loosey-goosey. And one of the things Laura always taught me in her whole life was just how to roll with uneasiness and uncertainty. I don't do well with uncertainty. It's not how my brain works. But Laura just, God, she had a way of rolling with the punches of life that seemed like a dance from the outside. And it seemed intentional. And that's just the grace and elegance that she had moving through, the difficulties that we all face in life. She had a level of clumsy grace that I'll never forget. I'll never forget it. And I've also seen a few ladies in this room today, Alex Pavlik, Jackie Duttenhofer, Taryn Bowman, probably some others in here. And I found it amusing because I remember Laura being best friends with these ladies all throughout time. And God, the shenanigans, the trouble. Natalie as well. Natalie's another one as well. The shenanigans that these girls got into. And my parents always said, like, Laura, you got to pick better friends. You got to find people who are not as bad an influence on you. And me as a teenager, I'm like, do you guys not see the common denominator here? Like, it's Laura. It's not the people she's hanging out with. It's Laura. And she had a way of just unlocking and throwing away your inhibitions. And I think that's why everybody loves spending time with her, is because spending time with her was glorious and free feeling and uninhibited feeling. And since she's passed, I've gotten over the anger. What's really been tough is that, that scene in Back to the Future where Marty McFly is looking at that picture of his family, and as things are going wrong in the past, members of his family are fading out of the photo. I feel faded. I feel half resolved. I feel transparent because the person who knew me best in the world is gone. And there is this unspoken encyclopedia of knowledge that only applied to the two of us, and it's just gone. And so I have been feeling like a shadow. And one of the things that has been helping is the people in this room. Because while I have lost my best friend and the person who knew me best, I am gaining back people who I haven't seen in years. And I'm gaining back people who know me in facets as well as Laura knew me completely. And so I thank you very much for reaching out to me and to the family over the last few weeks. I thank you for everybody in this room who has sent messages of love and kindness and who has understood the really great loss that we're all feeling today. And when it comes to feeling a great loss, I know we're all at different places. I know we've all found out at different times. And so I wanted to do something that could maybe allow this crowd to release some grief. So Rob mentioned earlier the tattoos from Laura. This is my Lola tattoo. It's one of 3 that I have, and they're all from her. But this one is special because years ago, Laura designed her own tarot deck, and she got her tarot deck printed. I have the last printed box of her tarot deck, and I also have her original cards, but this is her magician card. It's the first card in the deck, and Laura tattooed it on me because she always believed I was magic. And I feel a little less magic now without her around. I think a lot of that came from the inspiration that she gave me, but my last act of art on Laura's behalf was to make this video for everybody, and I have poured everything of myself. Peyton, could you bring me up a chair, buddy? Just that chair right there. I poured everything of myself into this over the last 3 weeks. It's taken a long time to make this, and it's gonna hit hard. So let it hit hard, and just let it do its thing. The only thing I'm gonna say preface is there's one clip in here where Laura injures herself. Just take it easy. She was fine afterwards, and she had a smile on her face while it was happening. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch this with you, and then I'll wrap up after. Audio guys, let's get the volume up immediately, because you gotta get the first bit of this. Air on the side of loud, because she would've liked that.
So, why believe in things that make it tough on you? Give the past a slip. It's time to look for new traditions. It's time for Devo. Now, sit back, relax, take in the full measure of Devo's new traditionalist spirit. This is General Boy for Devo saying, bombs away!
When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder.
I got the disco fever!
Lions hunker down in tall grasses. And even elephants lumber after safety.
It's important that you study hard in high school so you are able... Oh great, made me lose my spot. We love each other. The truth is, just like the truth is, I'm thinking about my beautiful gap modeling.
There's Dad. Dad giving Laura a kiss.
When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, and sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see, with a hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid.
Sorry.
Come on, Laura. Put him down.
Promised walks never taken.
I am sexy alien, yeah.
This is our campground. These are the two campground idiots.
Laura, say hi. Shut up.
Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We're not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of cold, dark caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly.
I was the first one! The other thing I feel terrible.
Space is filled with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be.
Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Be and be better, for they existed.
Oh, are we gonna climb down in the easy chair? Buy me a flute and a gun that shoots, tailgates, some substitutes. Tie yourself to a tree with roots. You ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, we gonna climb down in the easy chair. Genghis Khan, he could not keep all his men supplied with sleep. We'll climb that hill, no matter how steep, when we get up to it. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, we gonna climb down in the easy chair.
I hope that was cathartic for everybody. Yeah. So I've been working on that for a couple of weeks, and I'm not a good visualizer. I don't have a good mind's eye like that, but the image and the icon that's kept coming up in my brain since she's died is a hurricane lantern. I've been seeing just one of those kerosene lanterns. And everybody has talked about how Laura emitted light, right? Firework, illumination, whatever we said. She just emitted light. But the thing about a hurricane lantern is that you fill it with fuel, and you've got a little knob on there, and you can choose how brightly you want that lantern to shine. And you can choose how quickly you want to expend the fuel in that lantern. And I believe that all of us are a hurricane lantern. Some of us do a better job of conserving our fuel. Laura did not, but she burned bright. And the brightness she emitted was made even brighter by the darkness that she also carried. Because she did a great job in lighting up our lives, even though there was a lot of darkness in hers as well. So let's remember Laura for that, and let's maybe all turn up our own lanterns a little bit. But just remember the light that she shone on you. And I think that about wraps it up. So, next up, what we're going to do is break this circle and break this morning, and we're going to have a toast for Laura. As you all make your way to the back, you'll be provided a shot glass that has a piece of Laura's art and Lola's name written on it. This is yours to keep afterwards so that you can always have a shot with Laura. She'd really like that. But as you file to the back to the open space there, grab your shot. When everybody's back there and well equipped, don't do it first, wait. I'll do a toast. And oddly enough, because Laura was just so intelligent and smart, she wrote her own toast. And I found it in her poems. So let's wait for that. Thank you everybody so much for coming again. Let's get back there. Let's remember Laura. Let's hug each other. Let's be together. Okay? Thanks everybody.
There's both tequila and I think there's non-alcoholic as well for the toast. So you don't have to have tequila. But I'm going to have several.